Hey everybody, today is video 1. Excuse me. I am Lisa Austin and I am a former Seventh Day Adventist. I feel drawn to do these videos. I have posted tons of stuff on my Facebook over the last year, especially a year ago. I left the Adventist church a year ago and I went, through the stages, the rage stage, which I spent a lot of time in, and so I did post a lot of things on Facebook and probably made some enemies out of my Adventist friends, and for that I apologize, but this is real, folks, and it affects everybody. It affects your whole entire life. It affects the people in your life. So this video is only going to be the beginning kind of description of things, but each subsequent video I will do, I'm going to take just one subject of one doctrine, one belief of the Seventh Day Adventist Church, and then I'm going to go to scripture and show that the difference between false doctrine and biblical truth. So, but for today, it's just an introductory video, me getting used to talking to this phone and videotaping myself. Seems weird, but I feel like I have a lot to say on this subject now, and I want to be heard. So, rather than to type out a bunch of posts on Facebook and have people just skim over it, I plan to make these videos and upload them to YouTube and see how many views I can get and maybe touch some people's lives. So here we go. Lisa Austin. I'm 55 years old. I was born and raised excuse me, as a Seventh Day Adventist. I lived in Cedar Lake, Michigan, which was a hub, is a hub for Seventh Day Adventists. Quite comically known as Peanut Butter Junction from the outside world because of the fact that most Adventists are vegetarian and they don't eat meat and they eat a lot of peanut butter. I don't know. I personally love peanut butter, but maybe that's why. So, yeah, raised in Cedar Lake. Parents were professed Adventists. I don't remember my dad doing a lot of Adventist things as I grew up. I know that they occasionally went to the church there, my mom more than my dad, but they held on to the beliefs. I haven't really done the research too far back to see like where this craziness started, like how many generations back. I know that my mom and dad were Adventists-ish. My grandma and grandpa were, I believe their parents were, but I don't know how far back. So I'm not really sure what to call myself as far as what generation. But living in Cedar Lake, that's pretty much all you know. They send you to Seventh Day Adventist Church School, which is the equivalent to the world's elementary. I started, I believe, in first grade. I don't believe I went to kindergarten. I don't even think they had a kindergarten at that time. So we started out in first grade. Little country school at the top of the hill. Close enough to walk. So yeah, back then it was safe. Didn't have to worry about, creepers or pedophiles or anybody kidnapping you. So that went through like 8th grade. And so you grow up with every single one of your friends also being Adventists. So just keep that in mind. Like, you're taught from the beginning, like, all of the Adventist doctrine in a way, I guess, that an elementary aged child would understand. Herein lies the problem for me. I never understood it. I never grasped the beliefs, really. I knew that's what I was, and I knew that's what I was supposed to be. That's what I was supposed to believe. So yeah, so then from there, conveniently, like right down the road, is an Adventist academy, they call it, which is the equivalent to the world's high schools. So you go from having these Adventist children you grow up with, and then as you get to become a teen, down the road you go to this Adventist academy, which was a boarding academy. Excuse me. So in a boarding academy, like Adventist parents actually put their, I don't know, what are you at ninth grade? 14? 14-ish, 15. So they're putting their 14 or 15-year-old child in a dorm. Like I lived close enough that I could still walk, because that's all I ever did. I had to walk to school, but it was close. So rain or shine or snow or sleet, I was walking to school, with a few exceptions. But if you didn't live close enough, which there was only a handful of us, we were called the village kids, and I'll get to that later. But if you didn't live close enough like we did, you had to stay there, like live there. So Adventists from around the state of Michigan would drive 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. There was even kids from the UP of Michigan, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, whose parents would drive them there, unload all their stuff, and put them in the dorm and pay. I mean, it was not cheap. It's expensive. Christian school that charges people an arm and a leg to go there. So here we have like this 2 dormitories, one for the girls, obviously, one for the guys, and then school. So village kids could come, walk, be driven, drive themselves to school, do their classes, and then go back to their homes. The dorm kids have to live there, away from home at that age. I mean, I think about it now, and I don't know. I don't have a good feeling about it. I think that parents should have their kids at home for as long as you possibly can. I mean, they're going to be gone. They're going to be adults. They're going to be on their own, independent, gone away from you soon enough that you don't need to, at 14 or 15, start shipping them off for months at a time, like a school year, with one time home a month. But anyways, I digress. So you go from an elementary school of like-minded religious people, and then you go down the road to an academy where you spend all the rest of your formative years, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, with the same mindset of people. So that's all you're learning, and they try their best to keep you in the system. They suggest that you socialize with, like-minded people, Adventists. They frown on you going out and socializing with anybody from the world. And then the ultimate goal is for you to now, after graduation, go off to an Adventist college or university, which the biggest one, obviously in Michigan, is Berrien Springs, the theology center of the Adventist faith, Andrews University. So anybody that's anybody in the Adventist world, if you don't go to Andrews, then, or maybe you want to go to Tennessee to the other Adventist hub at Southern University. I think that's what it's called, Southern, in Collegedale, Tennessee. So that's another big Adventist hub. So by the time you're through, elementary, academy, and college or university, and you've been with pretty much only Adventists, your worldview is skewed. You come out and that's all you know. And then they hope, that's their intent, that you come out of university and you go work for Adventists. Like you work in Adventist schools or you work in Adventist hospitals. So they want to keep you in this circle of Adventism so that you won't go out into the world and you just end up with this skewed worldview with everything, all you know is what you have been taught time and time and time and time and time again. If you start to veer off from that, then you're judged by everybody at church. As a kid, you get to a certain age and you start asking questions. I wasn't a big questioner as a kid or a teen, but I know one thing in my heart: I did not understand our beliefs. I didn't even connect what they were teaching, and it always bothered me because I had friends that were just totally understood everything, and they just could quote things, and I felt, I felt guilty because I didn't understand our doctrine. I knew one thing. I knew that my mom and dad were Adventists. When I was born, I became an Adventist because that's what we were, and that's what I was supposed to be. I didn't even, I guess you don't question anything like that if you grow up in it. Like, you don't say, well, at 6 or 7 or 8, even 10, I didn't look at my mom and go, why are we Adventists? I don't understand that, Mom. Why aren't we Baptists? I just didn't, it didn't dawn on me at that point. You just go along with what you're taught, and okay. Oh, we're Adventists. And let's be honest, Adventists out there watching this, we were taught, and you still are taught, that you are the remnant church, the last church, the final church, the true church. So you, at a young age, develop this superiority complex. Please don't try to deny that. You know what we were taught, and we were taught that Catholics were evil, and the Pope's the Antichrist and all that jazz. So we're taught that to feel, superior, like we're somebody, and those poor Sunday keepers, they're not going to be saved. And then, I don't want to get off too much into these rabbit trails because each video I do is going to be a specific topic and only that. But this is kind of just an introduction. But you know that we felt bad for other churches that didn't have the truth like we did. And then, growing up, I had a lot of confusion. I just told you that, and this was one of those confusing things. Here we go. We were taught Adventists. This is what I was taught. I don't know. Maybe some of you weren't, but Adventists were the only ones going to heaven. And then at some point, I can't remember when it was, the first time I heard someone actually say, oh, no, there will be other denominations in heaven. Okay. At that point, I started getting really confused. I'm like, okay, all this time I've been taught that it's just going to be us, and you have to be an Adventist to be saved to go to heaven. Excuse me. And then I hear, well, but, there will be some other denominations there. Okay. Can you explain that to me? Well, if they haven't been taught the truth, or if they don't really understand the significance of the Sabbath, then God will judge them where they're at. Intellectually, how much truth has been shown to them. Okay. All right. Because I was thinking, if we can still be saved, why do we have to be Adventists in this weird legalistic group that we're in? A lot of confusion for me as a child and teen and young adult growing up. So I wasn't solid. I mean, like, looking back now, I wasn't a good Adventist. I mean, knowing what I know now, I could not have been a good Adventist if I could so easily and quickly leave this organization without even hesitating and looking back. I graduated the academy in 1982. Yes, it's been forever. And I was very anxious to get out of there. I hated it, basically. I had a couple of best friends, Tammy and Della. The rest of the people there, no real connection at all. You think, bullying just started recently or something, and well, it didn't. And there was bullies in my school. Funny that I'm actually friends with a couple of them, one of them I think, on Facebook right now, but in academy, in elementary, didn't matter. I mean, Adventist or not, public school, whatever, bullies exist, and they existed very much so in the Adventist school. I was called names, made fun of, my clothes, my mom would make my clothes, which I appreciated. Yes, I did appreciate that, but I don't think she realized at the time. I think if she did realize it, she wouldn't have done it. But I don't think she realized at the time that wearing homemade clothes at that point, especially during academy, was caused me a lot of pain as far as being made fun of. I'm just going to mention first names here. They may watch this and they may recognize themselves. And so I am only using first names. I won't use last names, and if you recognize yourself, I have forgiven you because we were in high school. But there was Lori, Eldana, Lori, Ruth, and I got looks on a regular basis, kind of like, wow, where'd you get that? I know one of them said, wow, where'd you get that outfit, Lisa? And, I just sucked it up until I got home, and I was just like, what's wrong with me? Why are these girls so nasty? And, I mean, they were pretty. They were skinny. They had the best guys at the school. They dated the guys that I liked, but the guys didn't like me. They liked them. And it's funny because those things stick with you. And you'd think, well, maybe in a Christian school, or well, maybe in a religious-based school, things like that wouldn't happen, but they did. Boys dorm, girls dorm. In the night, guys snuck out, went over to the girls dorm, had sex. There was drugs at this school. So the Adventist institution wasn't anything special, and they had the same problems as worldly schools. So they weren't special in that way. They weren't unique and safer, But anyways, so at graduation, I was really ready to get out of there, and I left. I left the church. I don't believe I ever left God, because I've always believed in God. So there was never a point, even when I left Adventism and I went and lived with my cousin and drank and did all that stuff. Moved out of my house, my mom and dad's house, and just did my own thing. I never can say that I left God, because I've always believed in God. I've always prayed and knew that there was a God. But it being raised Adventist, I had no clue who he was. None. The God, okay, so I'm just going to say this, and hate me if you want. Adventist Jesus is not the same Jesus in the Christian world. We were taught to believe, and we'll get to those subjects later on in other videos, but as an overview, the Adventist Jesus was not the same. I mean, he just wasn't this person that I know now. And so I left and went and did my own thing. I ran from the church because it was legalistic. It was oppressive, and there was no happiness there for me. And I always had this doom and gloom, guilty hanging over me, because, their prophet, Ellen White, says, you shouldn't do this and this and this and this and this. And if you do this, and if you don't confess all your sins all the time and remember who you've hurt and go back and ask for forgiveness, I mean, you're not going to go to heaven. And you have to keep Sabbath the seventh day, and you have to keep it holy, and you have to do all these things in order to be saved. And by the way, don't ever say you're saved, because we can never say that, because it's a work in progress. Well, a works-based salvation is what they believe. We're going to get to all that. Again, I'm just giving a quick overview. Well, it's been 20 minutes, so it's not really quick, but an overview of how I'm going to go with this. So I left, did my own thing, got married to a worldly person, and divorced. I had a child who I love dearly, and that was the best thing that came out of that marriage. He is my oldest, and I love him dearly. So, I mean, I thank God for that. I experienced some awful things in that first marriage, and this is not what this video is about. So, moving on, though, got divorced, excuse me, and was still, didn't go back to being Adventist at that point. Was out there doing whatever. Living worldly, just trying to get by. Taking care of my son, trying to work, support us both. Finally got my divorce, and I met my now husband, Mark, and poor guy took me on and my son, which I'm forever grateful to him for that. That is a very noble and wonderful thing to do, is to take on a woman and her son and as a package deal. And so we married, and we've been married for 31 years. Good man. So during this marriage, the first part, I wasn't going to I didn't go back to church. He wasn't in the church. He wasn't in any church. So we just, lived our life, parented, made thousands of mistakes, probably more than that. Really, a lot of my mistakes as a mother, a lot of my mistakes as a wife, stem. I realize now, knowing what I know, I can honestly admit that my thousands of mistakes as a mother and a wife stemmed from my upbringing in an oppressive, legalistic, religious organization. Some of you out there who are watching this, Adventists maybe, are going to just disagree with that. But you can say what you want, and you can leave comments under this video, but you cannot take away how I feel inside. You cannot take away my feelings, my realizations, my epiphanies. You can't take that from me. So we may disagree on all of these videos if you're an Adventist and you're watching, but you cannot, I repeat, you cannot take away my thoughts, my memories, my feelings about how this organization, legalistic, non-biblical organization, formed me, formed my thoughts, formed my behaviors, which leaked over into my personal life as a mother and a wife. And to my children, every one of you, and to my husband, I can't apologize enough for the fact that I made mistakes that I can't take back. I've done things that are awful that I can't change. But at least for me, in my heart right now, because before, you look back at your mistakes and you're like, why? Why? I mean, everybody thinks of themselves as a good person. You're like, I'm a pretty good person. I mean, I love kids. I love people. So you ask yourself, and you're just confused. You're like, why would I have done that? Why did I say that? Why did I make that choice? When you come to a place on your journey like I did over a year ago, and you just start, all of this information, all the realizations hit you like a brick. You're like, oh my gosh, this probably caused this behavior in me. This teaching might have influenced my decisions here. I mean, the pieces of the puzzle for me are coming together. And that's me. It's my life and my puzzle. So you can disagree with things that I might say about Adventism, but really you can't disagree or tell me I'm wrong when these pieces of my puzzle are coming together for me, and now I know why. So again, I apologize publicly right now to my children, to my husband, for the awful mistakes I've made, the awful things I've said, awful things I've done, unkind, just rotten things. I ask for your forgiveness, and I hope someday that everything will be forgiven. I know that God's forgiven me, and I know that this journey for me is not nearly done. I know God has a plan for me, and He's brought me to this place on my journey. I have felt very impressed, I should say, to give this information, to give this message, and I don't know, it's been tugging at me over the last year. So here it is, and it's as raw as it gets. I'm sitting in my craft sewing studio in my home. I'm using an iPhone to make these videos, and they'll be uploaded to YouTube. I may say or like. Forgive me. I just want to get this message through to you, and I want to be real. I'm not going to be careful. I'm not going to be careful when I say things about Adventism, the way I see this, and the way I see Adventism, and what it is, and what it's done, and what it will continue to do if you don't get out of it. I'm not going to be careful not to step on toes because at the end of this you may dislike me. Am I trying to make enemies? No. Do I want you to dislike me? No. I have so many people in Adventism that I love, but I can't just sugarcoat things so that you still see me or like me. I answer to one person. So if he's, I don't know, led me to do this, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to try to be nasty about it. But I really wish, to be honest, that somebody had opened up this door and gave me this information and showed me things, 20 years ago. I would have been grateful for that, because waiting till I was 54, everything, don't get me wrong, everything happens in God's timing, not ours. So let me jump back. Okay, so married to my husband now 31 years, but I haven't done the math, so a while back, so 2006 or 2007, I think, I went back to the church. Two of my boys had been studying and got baptized into the Adventist church, and I felt like it was time for me to go back to my roots. Yeah. So shortly after their baptism, I got rebaptized. And here my poor husband, who was never an Adventist, didn't really know much about Adventism, did not marry me as an Adventist. Okay, so he didn't marry into Adventism and just say, okay, I'm going to deal with this. He married me when I was out of Adventism, and now I'm going back into it. And of course, when you get into something like going back, you're like, oh, gung-ho. And so I was just like, me and the two boys were just like lambasting him with all these, Adventism's it, and Sabbath, and you got to go to church, you're going to be saved, and how can you believe, anything but this? And I have to apologize again to him and I had family doing it too, open the Bible and saying, look here, look here, look here. This is what's, what you need to do. So I apologize again to my husband, because he survived all of that. And just a little bit over a year ago, okay, let me go back. I'm going to do this. I don't know. I prayed for years. Everybody's like, pray for your husband. I hated going to church by myself. You look around and you see all these husbands and wives sitting together and singing together and being at church together, and that was sad for me. Like, I wanted that too. I wanted my husband in church with me, and I prayed. And everybody's like, yeah, you got to keep praying. Don't stop, just pray for him. God will work this out. And I prayed, and I prayed, and I prayed. And once in a while, he might agree to come. Just for some special occasion or something, he would come with me. And I thought, okay, thank you, Lord, this is it. He's gonna hear the message. He's going to convert. We're going to be a family at this church. I'm going to have my husband next to me like everybody else does. Yeah, no. He would pacify me a little bit here and there by going, but he never intended to convert to Adventism. Never. No. So, fast forward to last year, 2018, January. I went to church like I always do, sitting next to my sister, and the new pastor that had been there since August starts preaching. And starts talking about, and we'll get into this later again, but most Adventists, obviously, all Adventists are going to know what I'm talking about right now, but the non-Adventists that might be watching this are going to be confused until later videos. So he starts talking about their prophet, Ellen White, how the world's this way, and just, we're backsliding, as Adventists, we're backsliding and we're doing what the world does. And, Ellen White said that we should be wearing our dresses, this much off the ground. And if she could do it then, why, if it was good enough for her then, why isn't it good enough for us now? And here we are, men are starting to wear lapel pins and just really, because one of the things Adventists don't believe in is jewelry. So he was considering men are backsliding, they're wearing lapel pins. Really? Lapel pin? That's jewelry. Wow. Okay. So I'm like, I can't explain it to you, but I'm going to do the best I can. Normally, an Ellen White sermon, I just would have been like, I would have heard blah, 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 blah in my ear, and I would have sat there nicely, waited till the end, sang a song, and went and ate potluck. Done. Not this time. Not this time. This time, I sat there, and I started to get a physical reaction in my body. I looked over at my sister, leaned over to my sister, and I said, oh my gosh, I've not felt this anxiety like this since I was a kid going to Cedar Lake Adventist Church, which there's a lot of judgmental people that go there, and I am so sorry. I just said it, but it's true. It's true. You walk in and you have people looking you up and down. What does she got on? Oh my goodness, is she late? What does she do? Oh, it's real, folks. It's not just me. But so anyway, I started to get a physical reaction. I'm like, what the heck is he doing? And he just went on and on about how, if it was good enough in her day, why isn't it good enough for us now? Now our skirts are up to here. Then he started talking about his own family, his own daughter, who wasn't even there to defend herself. He starts talking about how she came home and he noticed she had this tattoo on her back, the low part of her back. And he said to her, what next? He just said it so disgusting. And this is the attitude that you grow up with in Adventism, this disgust. What next, he says? You going to get tattoos on your arms where people can see them? What's next? And I was just like, oh, I couldn't, at that point I felt like just this fog, and I was hot, and I just felt anxious, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And when he was done, there was something inside of me. Say what you will, think what you will. God caused that anxiety, and he caused my reaction that day. That passed. Normally I would sit there till all the rows are dismissed and it's our turn, and my sister and I would walk out. And that day, he barely got past me walking his way out to the foyer, and I got up out of my seat. I followed him out there, and he's taking off his microphone and all that jazz. And I said to him, I says, Pastor, that's the kind of sermon that makes me want to stay home and not come back. And I'll never forget his reaction. I'll never forget it. He got a face like this. He's like, oh, wow, I'm sorry. Can you forgive me? And then he went about his business. And I'm like, are you serious? Yeah, that's how you handled this. You didn't say, hey, Lisa, oh, wow, man, I'm really sorry that hit you like that. Could we set up a time where we could talk about this, another time? Can I call you? Or anything. He just looked at me like, oh, wow, sorry to hear that. Can you forgive me? Oh, I got in my car. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. I was so mad and confused, and I come home and I was telling my husband, and I was just so confused. And at that point, he's asking me, well, can't you just, I know you like to go there, and can't you just go there, even if you don't believe in this Ellen White person, can't you just still go to church so that you're going with the people that you like? And I'm just I'm looking at him thinking, are you kidding me? No, You can't just go there and not believe in Ellen White. She's the core. She's the founder. She is the founder and foundation of the Adventist organization. So you can't just go, oh, I'll just keep going. I won't believe in Ellen White. Also at that point, I had been, for some reason, I am not, okay, right now, I've got little, studs in my ears, and I have a wedding band on. But on a general basis, I'm not a big jewelry wearer. But if I want to, growing up, that was always weird. And we'll probably touch on that in a different video. But it was a weird thing growing up to me, like, oh, we don't believe in jewelry. Okay. Why? We just don't. Yeah, but why? Well, we just don't. Ellen says that it's not, we shouldn't do it. So as a kid, you go out to the store, you go here or there, and you see other people your age wearing earrings or a necklace or something. That always bothered me. It baffled my mind. Like, why? What is that rule? What is it about it that's so bad? And no one could ever give me a good answer. And we can get to that later. I'll look up the verses. I have a whole thing. There's a verse that says something about not adorning yourself. But when you take this stuff in context, there's jewelry all over in the Bible. God is... Okay, I don't know what Jesus that you worship, but the God I worship does not look down and go, oh, wow. Lisa's got earrings in. Where's her chart? Let me just write down that she is not going to be saved now because she's got earrings on. When you think about the stupidity of that statement and that thought process, you have to ask yourself, what Jesus are you worshiping that you would even consider? So I started that day. I'm like, okay, this has been bugging me. Not because I was yearning to wear it, but for some reason God put that subject, I don't know, call it whatever, in my mind. And so when he's going on in church about lapel pins, I'm sitting at home thinking, okay, and it's okay to wear fancy watches the men come in with. Women got these fancy scarves, hats, but what is different? Tell me, I said to myself. What is different about a piece of jewelry that's around your neck, or a scarf you wear around your neck, or a hat, or a headband, okay, or beads in your hair, or a watch? Okay, that's a big one for me. Don't give me, because it tells time, it's functional, it has a purpose. Because, hello, you could wear a watch then should be just plain, like just a leather band with a watch face on it. But that's not how it goes. Adventists, especially in the bigger cities, in the areas where there's more wealthier population, they're coming in with diamonds on their watch bands and just like gold, real gold. So don't tell me this double standard that the Adventists want to give is it's okay somewhere in the rule book that we can wear fancy, expensive watches, headbands, barrettes, scarves, but you can't wear jewelry. So I started looking in the Bible. I started researching on the internet because, years ago when I had questions, there was no internet. But folks, there's an internet now. And if you are not researching what you believe, you are doing yourself a disservice, because there's all kinds of information at your disposal, at the click of a button. So I started researching jewelry, looking it up in the Bible. Where does it say in the Bible that we can't wear jewelry? Nowhere. It's not a biblical thing. I found out it's an Ellen G. White only thing. Okay, so now I am really frustrated. Okay, now we got a pastor that's preaching long dresses to the ground, complaining that people are wearing lapel pins now. And all this time, all of this jazz is Ellen White. They're prophetess. It's not even biblical. Not even biblical, folks. Okay. So here I am really confused. My husband's like, okay, but he's trying to be good, and he is good. And I think he really didn't want anyone to blame him for me leaving, because everybody knows how I've been praying that he would come to church, and everybody knows that I want him there. And so in reality, I think he was worried a little bit about himself, which is understandable. He did not want anyone to think that if I left, it was him pulling me out or pushing me to leave. And I'm like, no, don't worry about it. This will be my decision. This is my decision. And he kept on. I'm like, don't you think you could still go? I mean, even if you don't believe in this Ellen, and I mean, you could still just go to church there. I mean, and I'm like, it's really hitting me at this point. I'm like, no, you're not going to go to a church just because you have friends there, family there. That's not what this is about. You worship God in a place that gives truth, that teaches truth, that promotes truth. Why would I want to go to a church now, an organization that follows a woman for their advice when it's not even biblical? I couldn't do it. So end of that story for then. And there was a few people that weren't at church that day, but they heard about what happened, and my posts on Facebook, they might have seen and wondered what the heck happened. So I had a phone call the next day from a dear friend from church, and she says, Lisa, what's going on? What's all this? And I went off. I'm like, this and this and this is what he said, and how can that, and she's like, just hold on, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We don't, that was in her time. It's not relevant today, and we don't always follow everything that that she has said. We have to be sensible and use common sense. And so, please don't stop coming, So at this point, I was still a little confused, and I felt good that she called me. She's kind of, a big person in church there. Not big, but, she's important there. And I thought, wow, I feel good about that. She took the time out, her and her husband both in the car, making this phone call to me, trying to get me to settle down and to realize that, I can do this. I can still come back. Don't worry. Yada, yada, yada. So I thought to myself, oh, okay, fine. I'll come back, and I did the next Saturday, Sabbath. And the children's story went like this. The Adventists believe that at the end times there's going to be a time of trouble. And that's a whole nother video, but I'm just saying that the fear and fear-mongering that we were taught as kids growing up in this organization sticks with you. And it makes you scared and worried, because they take all your hope and they fill you with fear. So this particular morning, the children's story woman, who I love her, but she starts out her story with, now, boys and girls, I don't want to scare you, but I don't want to scare you, but. And now as a child, there you go. I'm already scared. You don't want to scare me, but there will be a time when we as Adventists might not be able to go to church because we will be forbidden, and if we do go to church and we still try to worship, then, people will come and try to hunt us down. I was just like, there was that feeling again. It came rushing back, and I'm like, oh, I've got to get out of here. Here we go. Here. I just felt that same thing, and it was as if God was saying to me, Lisa, really? I pulled you out of here last week, and here you are back. We're going to do this again. So at this point, I can't remember what the sermon was about. I think it was something just as irritating. But for me, what stuck out was that children's story, the fear tactics that are used. And to me, I mean, that's awful. So I left again, and that was it. That was the last time I attended that church, and it was over a year ago. And my personality, a lot of people aren't like me. I come home, that week typed up a big, huge things that I have been learning that week and just finding out. Because as an Adventist, you're not hunting on the internet for things that go against what you have been taught. Because why? You're in this organization with this group of people, and this is what you were taught as a child or whatever, and that's what you believe. So why would you be on the internet even researching or learning? Right? You just go with the flow. Happy Sabbath. What does that mean? And you just go with it. So this week I was just researching like crazy, and one thing led to another, and I was so, oh man, I couldn't stop myself. Like one thing I learned, and I was like, you got to be kidding me, and that led to another and to another and to another, until, my husband would come home at 2:30 from work, and I would be like sitting there on the couch, where I had been for hours on the internet, and he would just smile, and I would be like, you're not gonna believe what I just learned. And so we did this together. It was like I was watching videos, and I was YouTubing, and I was showing him and sharing with him, and he's just like, I had no idea. And I'm like, I really didn't either. I didn't either, because I was a follower. Just a little sheep. This is what we're supposed to do. This is what we believe, so we just believe it. Nobody asks why. And you need to ask why. So anyway, I left, and then I typed up this big old email, and I sent it to the email chain for the church. Okay, so, looking back, maybe I could have possibly done it in a better way. But my anger, my disbelief took over and just kind of like was driving that train. And I just typed it up, and I was just like, this and this and this isn't true, and I can't believe this, and all this stuff. And so I shocked everybody, I guess, with that email, and people were just like, shook up the church up there, I guess. Didn't know what to think. Some people reached out to me, a few, in a nice way. They're like, I'm sorry if somebody hurt you. That's a typical Adventist reaction. Oh, we're sorry you were hurt by someone. I wasn't hurt by anyone. I was hurt by the institution because of the false doctrine that I was led to believe, and spent my entire 54 years thinking was truth. So not one person came up to me and hurt me personally. So I appreciate those emails. And then here's the surprise. There was a couple people that reached out to me who wanted to know a little bit more, because I think they were also questioning some things. So I was kind of happy about that, because you know what? This is my goal. If I can draw one person, even just one person, out of Adventism, if I can cause one person to leave, this is all worth it. So then I got an email that I was surprised about, because I love this person a lot. But she said to me, Lisa, if you don't want to be here, then don't be. But please stop saying things about our church. Just go away. And I was shocked because looking at her position in the church and the type of person that she portrays herself to be, and again, I do love her, but what's portrayed by her personality over the time that I've spent at that church and the email that I got, just the two didn't match up. But it was like, paraphrasing here, if you don't like what we do, then you can go, but just keep your mouth shut and go. Don't make any waves for us. Let us be, and you go. Goodbye. And at the stage I was in then, like at the beginning of anger and rage stage, that wasn't a good email to send to me. I was like, no, you didn't just tell me to go. You didn't just tell me to shut up and go, because I'm not going to shut up. So here I am, over a year later, making a video and more videos because I am not going to shut up. To all my family watching, this is who I am now. I'm not an Adventist, and I never will be again. And I hope that by the end of, I mean, maybe you won't even choose to watch these. I don't know. Truthfully, I don't care. I want people to watch these that are considering leaving, that just want some more information, or want some insight into these areas that are hush hush, that nobody talks about, the truth of it, what's real. People that have questions are like, what is Adventism? I'm going to tell you in the next videos. This is getting long. It's almost an hour long, and I apologize for that. I am no longer an Adventist, and I will close here in a minute. I am a Christian who follows a new covenant that Jesus gave us at his death. And I pray for you, each one of you that watch this, I pray for you that you will see some truth in what I'm telling you. Enough that you will question yourself, because Jesus is bigger than all this, and the gospel of Jesus is so simple. We were taught it's this and that, but not this, and you have to do this, but yes, there's grace, and there is some works, but not works-based. It is so confusing that you just don't know what to believe. But the gospel of Jesus Christ is so simple that you ask yourself, how could I have not seen this? How could I have read the Bible and missed this? It's because you had blinders on, scales on your eyes, and you have to pray. You have to pray that Jesus will take those scales off. Why did he choose me over a year ago? I have no idea, because basically I'm the last person on this earth that is qualified to do this. You know, my history and the bad choices I've made in my life, things that have happened to me over the last 8-9 years, different things in my life make me the least qualified to do this. But for some reason, January 11th, 12th, 2018, God chose me and pulled me out of that organization and opened my eyes to the truth. And I'm telling you, folks, it has been the biggest blessing of my entire life. Like, I can't express to you the amount of joy I now have. I can't express to you how different the Bible is now than it was before. Everything is so clear, and I don't have any of this cloud of guilt or fear hanging over me anymore. That is gone, and it's because of him. And I am so grateful, because I am a nobody. Like, I'll have family watching this video going, yeah, that's right. Who is she to tell us? Like, look what she's done. And that's okay, because it doesn't matter anymore. And here's the cool part. I used to worry about what people thought of me, and I don't worry about that anymore. I don't have to have that fear Like, if people are watching right now and they disagree and they think I'm an idiot for coming on here and doing this, that's on you. That's on you. For some reason, I felt led to do this. I'm putting myself out here in my humble little home, making these videos that are unprofessional because I have something to say that I believe is important. Important enough that over a year ago, God pulled me, Lisa Austin, 55, 54 at the time, year-old woman who's made so many mistakes in her life, has been an awful mother, an awful wife, and a bad Adventist, to be honest. So if he chooses me for this, I'm there. I don't deserve what he just gave me, this gift, but I am praising him every day for this gift because I have a totally new understanding of grace, mercy, of faith, the gospel, his death, resurrection. I have a whole new understanding of that now. I'm not in this cloud wondering, what? But what do we believe? No. And I'm thankful to him. Okay, guys, we are over an hour, and I thank you. Anybody that stayed with me this long, I thank you. And I invite you to please subscribe to my channel and watch any new videos I put out because this is not over. Okay, this is an hour, not a quick overview, but an hour-long overview of where this is all coming from for me. I was an Adventist, a Seventh Day Adventist. And now I'm a Christian that believes in the new covenant that God gave us when Jesus died on the cross. Life is good right now. It wasn't. There's a lot of pain and darkness in my background, in my history. And I still have pain. People know why. But God is here, and he's real, and I thank you so much for watching this far. Please stay tuned because we're going to discuss some really hard topics. I'm going to step on your toes, Adventists, and I'm sorry. I don't hate Adventists. I hate what this organization has done to people's lives, mine included. So, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video. And I'm hoping that will be out like a week from today. So, bye for now.